The Judgment Day is crumbling right before our eyes, and what just went down has left the entire wrestling world in absolute shock. Dominik Mysterio, the man who turned his back on his legendary father and became one of the most hated superstars in WWE, is now facing the ultimate betrayal from the very faction he helped build into a dominant force. And if you think you know what happened, trust me, you don't know the half of it, because there's a mystery caller situation involving Maxxine and Dupri that's about to blow this whole thing wide open. Before we dive deep into this chaos, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because you're not going to want to miss a single update on this developing story. The tension within the Judgment Day has been building for months now, and everyone could see the cracks forming in what used to be an unbreakable unit. Dominik Mysterio joined this faction thinking he had found his family, his brotherhood, a group that would have his back no matter what. He sacrificed everything for them, including his relationship with his father Rey Mysterio, his reputation with the fans, and any chance of being seen as anything other than a villain. But now those very same people he trusted are the ones pushing him out the door, and the way it's happening is more brutal than anyone could have imagined. It all started when Dominik began showing signs of independence within the group. He started making decisions without consulting the other members, and there were moments where he seemed more interested in his own spotlight than the collective success of the Judgment Day. Finn Balor noticed it first, and you could see the frustration on his face during their backstage segments. Damian Priest wasn't far behind in recognizing that Dominik was becoming a liability rather than an asset. JD McDonough, who's been trying to solidify his position in the group, saw an opportunity to advance his own standing by pointing out every mistake Dominik made. The walls were closing in on Dominik, and he either couldn't see it or refused to believe that his brothers would actually turn on him. The breaking point came during a recent episode where the Judgment Day was supposed to present a united front against their rivals. Dominik was late to a crucial meeting, and when he finally showed up, he didn't have a good explanation for where he'd been. The other members exchanged glances that said everything without words being spoken. Finn Balor stepped forward and addressed Dominik directly, telling him that his actions were putting the entire group at risk. Dominik tried to defend himself, but his words fell on deaf ears because the decision had already been made behind closed doors. The Judgment Day had voted, and the result was unanimous. Dominik Mysterio was out. But here's where things get really interesting and complicated. Just when everyone thought this was simply about Dominik not fitting in anymore, information surfaced about mysterious phone calls and secret meetings. Maxxine Dupri, who has been building her own presence in WWE and making waves with her confident persona and undeniable charisma, suddenly found herself at the center of a controversy she never asked for. Reports started circulating that someone had been calling Maxxine repeatedly from an unknown number, and the content of these conversations was being kept strictly confidential. The timing of these calls coinciding with Dominik's removal from the Judgment Day raised serious questions about what was really going on. The mystery caller situation exploded when footage somehow leaked showing Maxxine on her phone looking concerned and confused during what appeared to be one of these mysterious conversations. Wrestling fans immediately began speculating about who could be on the other end of that line and what connection it had to the Judgment Day drama. Some theories suggested that Dominik himself was the one calling Maxxine, possibly seeking advice or even planning some kind of revenge against his former faction. Other theories pointed to members of the Judgment Day reaching out to Maxxine for reasons that remained unclear but definitely suspicious. What makes this situation even more intense is that Maxxine has remained completely silent about the identity of the caller. She's been approached by multiple interviewers backstage trying to get answers, but she's refused to comment on the situation. Her silence has only fueled more speculation and theories about what's really happening. Some insiders claim that Maxxine is protecting someone important, and that revealing the caller's identity could have massive implications not just for the Judgment Day but for several other storylines currently unfolding in WWE. Dominik's reaction to being forced out has been a mixture of anger, confusion, and what appears to be genuine hurt. Despite his villainous persona, you could see real emotion in his eyes when the official announcement was made. He stood there in the ring surrounded by the people he thought were his family and watched as they systematically dismantled everything he thought he had built with them. Finn Balor delivered the final blow with a speech about loyalty and commitment, words that cut deep considering how much Dominik had sacrificed to be part of this group. The crowd was eating it up, cheering for Dominik's downfall, but there was something almost tragic about watching a young superstar realize he had bet everything on the wrong people. The aftermath has been chaotic, with Dominik being spotted backstage looking isolated and alone. The same locker room that used to welcome him now feels hostile. Other superstars are keeping their distance, unsure if associating with him would somehow put them in the Judgment Day's crosshairs. Dominik has become radioactive in the worst possible way, and the question everyone is asking is what comes next for him. Does he try to crawl back to his father and beg for forgiveness? Does he attempt to form his own faction to rival the Judgment Day? Or does he go completely rogue and start taking out everyone who ever wronged him? Meanwhile, the Judgment Day is acting like they're stronger than ever without Dominik. They've been cutting promos about addition by subtraction and claiming that removing the weak link has made them unstoppable. Finn Balor has taken on more of a leadership role, making it clear that he's the brains behind the operation. Damian Priest continues to be the enforcer, the muscle that backs up their threats with action. JD McDonough is thriving in this new dynamic, finally getting the recognition he's been craving since joining the group. Rhea Ripley, who had a complicated relationship with Dominik that added layers to their storyline, has been noticeably quiet about the whole situation, which has led to even more speculation about where her loyalties truly lie. Back to the Maxxine mystery, because this is where things could potentially explode in ways nobody expects. New information has emerged suggesting that the mystery caller might not be calling Maxxine to threaten her or involve her in drama, but rather to recruit her. Think about it. The Judgment Day just lost a member and created a vacancy in their ranks. Maxxine has the look, the attitude, and the presence that could fit perfectly into a faction that prides itself on being dominant and intimidating. If the Judgment Day is behind these calls, trying to bring Maxxine into the fold, it would be a strategic move that changes the entire landscape of the women's division and potentially creates new rivalries and alliances. But there's another possibility that's equally explosive. What if Dominik is the one calling Maxxine because he's trying to build his own faction from scratch? Imagine Dominik, bitter and angry about his betrayal, reaching out to superstars who might feel overlooked or underutilized. Maxxine could be the first piece of his revenge puzzle. Together they could start recruiting others who have grievances against the Judgment Day or simply want to make a name for themselves by taking down the group that's been dominating for so long. This would give Dominik a redemption arc of sorts, not as a hero returning to the light, but as a villain who learned from his mistakes and came back smarter and more dangerous. The wrestling community has been going absolutely insane trying to piece together all the clues and hints being dropped. Social media has been flooded with theories, speculation, and heated debates about what's really happening. Some fans are convinced they've cracked the code while others are waiting for the next episode to reveal more information. The beauty of this storyline is that WWE has managed to create genuine intrigue and suspense, something that's becoming increasingly rare in an era where so much information leaks online before it can air on television. What's particularly fascinating is how this situation has created opportunities for character development across multiple superstars. Dominik is being forced to evolve beyond being just the guy who betrayed his father. He now has to figure out who he is without the Judgment Day and what kind of superstar he wants to become. Maxxine is being thrust into a major storyline that could elevate her status significantly if handled correctly. The Judgment Day members are all jockeying for position within the group now that there's been a shake-up in the power structure. Every single person involved has something to gain or lose based on how this plays out. There are also implications for Rey Mysterio in all of this. Does he see his son's forced removal from the Judgment Day as an opportunity for reconciliation? Does he reach out to Dominik and try to bring him back to the side of good? Or has too much damage been done for their relationship to ever be repaired? The father-son dynamic has always been at the heart of Dominik's character arc, and this latest development adds another complicated layer to their story. Rey has to balance being a father who loves his son with being a professional who was deeply hurt by his son's betrayal. That's not an easy line to walk, and the decisions he makes could have ripple effects throughout his own career. The mystery caller reveal is being treated like a major event by WWE, and rightfully so. When the identity is finally confirmed, it's going to change everything we thought we knew about this situation. The build-up has been intense, with breadcrumbs being dropped week after week, keeping viewers engaged and invested in finding out the truth. This is storytelling done right, creating anticipation and payoff in a way that makes people tune in live instead of just reading spoilers online later. Looking at the bigger picture, this entire situation represents a shift in how WWE is approaching faction warfare. The Judgment Day has been untouchable for so long that seeing them vulnerable and making questionable decisions humanizes them in a way that's compelling. Dominik being forced out isn't just about removing one member, it's about showing that even the most powerful groups have internal politics and power struggles. It makes the faction feel more real and less like an invincible unit that can never be defeated. This vulnerability creates opportunities for other superstars and factions to strike while the Judgment Day is dealing with internal issues. The women's division angle, with Maxxine potentially getting pulled into this mess, opens up entirely new storyline possibilities. If she does end up aligning with either Dominik or the Judgment Day, it creates fresh matchups and rivalries that haven't been explored yet. The women's division has been incredibly strong lately, and adding faction warfare elements could make it even more exciting. Maxxine has the potential to be a major player in whatever direction this story goes, and her involvement could be the catalyst for something truly special. As we head toward the next major pay-per-view event, all eyes are on how this situation resolves itself. Will Dominik seek revenge immediately, or will he take time to rebuild and come back stronger? Will the Judgment Day replace him quickly, or will they operate as a smaller but tighter unit? Will the mystery caller be revealed in a shocking twist that nobody saw coming, or will it be exactly who everyone suspects? These questions are driving conversation and engagement in ways that benefit everyone involved. The uncertainty is what makes it must-watch television, and WWE deserves credit for crafting a storyline that has people genuinely invested in the outcome. The forced removal of Dominik Mysterio from the Judgment Day represents more than just a faction breaking up. It's a turning point for multiple careers and storylines that could shape WWE programming for months or even years to come. Combined with the Maxxine Dupri mystery caller situation, we're watching something that could become legendary if executed properly. The pieces are all on the board and the next moves will determine whether this becomes an all-time great storyline or a missed opportunity. Based on how things have been handled so far, there's every reason to be optimistic that we're in for something truly special. This is exactly the kind of drama and intrigue that makes professional wrestling compelling and entertaining. If you've been sleeping on this story, now is the time to wake up because what happens next is going to be absolutely unmissable. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any updates as this incredible story continues to unfold, because trust me, you're going to want to be part of the conversation when the truth finally comes out and everything changes forever.